This is Michael Popok with the new Legal AF YouTube channel. I thought this was a good opportunity to catch our breath and for me to give you what the process is going to be, because the devil's in the details, as to how Judge Chutkan is going to take the immunity decision, that momentous decision, earth-shattering decision by the Supreme Court on July 1st, which basically granted Donald Trump almost complete immunity, but not quite, for criminal actions, putting a man above the law for the first time in our constitutional republic. And they gave instructions to both the Department of Justice and to Judge Chutkan, but Judge Chutkan, wearing the black robe, makes the ultimate decisions. And I want to walk you through that process. She has to map that immunity decision onto the superseding indictment and decide what, if anything, survives. Now, frankly, it should all survive. Jack Smith was very methodical about issuing a new superseding indictment after he had already seen the immunity decision. His original indictment against Donald Trump was before the decision. So here he had the benefit of having seen the decision and now rendering this new, getting the grand jury to come out with a new superseding indictment. Now let's turn to Judge Chutkan. She has a decision-making tree that she's going to have to follow and figure out at the end what's left of this indictment. I think it's all of it, but let's go through it. She basically has to code it with a pen or highlighter or electronically into three categories. A, for absolute immunity. That's a core presidential function under the Second Amendment, Article 2 of the Constitution, and therefore cannot be the basis of any crime. It's absolute immune. That's an A. She then has to decide what falls into P category. That's presumed immune. That means that it fell into the category of, it looks on its surface to be official conduct, sort of the job description for the president, at least stretched to its outer boundaries. So she has to go, is this official conduct? Is it within the core official? Well, not really. But how about if I stretch it to its outer boundaries, which is what's required by the law? Yeah, then it falls into that. All right, she has to decide that, whether it's in or out. And then the last step in that determination has the government, through its 165-page filing, its 71 witnesses, its tractor trailer full of evidence and witness testimony, have they overcome the presumption? Because that's what the Supreme Court says. For official conduct stretched to its outer boundaries, there's a presumption of immunity, but that can be overcome. It's the burden on the special counsel to overcome it, showing the context and other facts around it, that on the surface it looked official, but it was really just underhanded criminal, plain vanilla conduct underneath it. That's why the brief's so big. That's why there's so much evidence that we know about now, because we're watching the government trying to overcome the burden and prove and overcome the presumption of immunity. That was a requirement of the United States Supreme Court. So that's the P. Then you've got the personal bucket. Yeah, that's not official conduct of the president. That's not core presidential conduct. That's everything else. And that's PB. Now, she has to go through and cycle through in her decision-making tree each of these things. The absolute immunity is easy. It's either Article 2 constitutional presidential power or it's not. There's very few things that I've seen in my many passes through the superseding indictment that would fall into that category, because they were mindful to avoid that category when they got the superseding indictment. So even the conversations with Mike Pence, while Donald Trump will jump up and down and say, I was talking to the vice president, I'm the president, he's the vice president. That by its very nature means it's a core constitutional function and absolute immune. Not so fast. Depends on what you were talking about. Talking about egg salad and who makes the best potato salad? Probably not immune. Talking about overthrowing democracy and trying to cling to power, that's what we're focused on. Trying to organize the next trip overseas for a foreign treaty? All right, probably immune. See how that works? So she'll go through and do all that. Then she's got to go to this really big fat category in the middle. Like if you're looking at the bell curve, this is a bell curve. You sort of have the absolute immunity here. Then you've got all the rebuttable presumption immunity analysis here. And then on the other outlier, you've got the private conduct. And they're trying hard, the DOJ, in their filings, to argue that the superseding indictment falls into the last two categories. They've rebutted the presumption, and it's private conduct. Now the judge has to say, on rebuttable presumption, she has three steps that she has to take. Does the act that's listed in the indictment, is that classic official conduct of a president? And then she has to say, but how about if I stretch it to its outer boundaries? The furthest limits of what we could argue could be official conduct. Does it fall within that? That's what she has to do because that's what the law requires. And then even if it falls within that, then she has to go to the second part of the analysis in that section, which is has the government, through all of its weight of its evidence, overcome the presumption to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, I believe, that Donald Trump was not, it may have looked on the surface to be official conduct, but was really unofficial conduct to try to cling to power and shouldn't be given immunity. So you have that. And then lastly, she's got to say all the things where the indictment and in the briefing, the prosecutors have used the P word. It's private. It's private lawyers talking to private lawyers, and Donald Trump in his private capacity, in private emails, in private text messages. There's a reason for that repetition in the briefing and in the indictment. It's to show ultimately to the Supreme Court, but first to Judge Chutkan, that these private things are prosecutable. They're not immune. So the more private, more getting over the burden, the more this indictment survives the immunity analysis or immunity determination, as the Department of Justice calls it. And that's what she has to do. Now, she'll be guided by a couple of briefs. She got the big fat one a couple of days ago, or she got it a few days ago, but we finally got it in the public record, 165 pages. We're expecting, because it's already been filed, that she's going to release to the public another 200 to 250 pages plus exhibits of what we call an appendix of testimony, witness summaries, and exhibits. And Donald Trump's had all this stuff. For anybody to argue, well, he's been shocked and surprised. No, he hasn't. He's gotten all of these documents. He just doesn't know how they be sequenced. It's like knowing how a 3-star Michelin chef, knowing the ingredients and putting them out on a table and knowing what the recipe is or how to make it taste, terrific. That's different. And that's what we just saw in the filing. This next 200 pages, in about 2 weeks, we'll get disclosure on that. That's going to be the last of the briefing and the last of the submissions before the election. Then after the election, Donald Trump will get a brief, and then the government will get a brief, and then Donald Trump will get one more brief. So at the end, there'll be 2 briefs apiece, right? It'll be symmetrical. And then from there, that's it. Then it's up to Judge Chutkan, and I think she'll be making her decision well before the inauguration. And so there's that. I think in early December. I think it's going to be mid-December before Christmas. We'll get a ruling from Judge Chutkan. And she'll say, I believe that the superseding indictment survives, the immunity determination, and she'll also evaluate the 4 crimes that have been charged. I think she'll find that all 4 crimes also fit the charges, fit the acts that have been alleged, and won't dismiss those. And she'll start talking about trial and trial setting. The loser, of course, Donald Trump, will run to the D.C. Court of Appeals. They'll take a month or 2 to decide the issue on immunity. The case will be stayed again for that period because it's a fundamental issue of jurisdiction on immunity. And then it'll go up to the United States Supreme Court again. Yes. And you can follow it all on Legal AF MTN, this channel. Free subscribe right here. Help us get to 200,000. We got a new show that's going to help you follow everything I just said really closely. It's called Unprecedented. It's once a week. We're going to be looking at the Supreme Court that starts on Monday and doing everything that you can imagine, top to bottom, side to side, opinions that are issued, the coalitions that are formed and broken, the leaks of opinions, and how the hijacking of the MAGA Supreme Court continues. And I got some great news here. Going to break it right here on this hot take. There's an amazing organization that is pro-democracy like we are, that runs parallel to us and at the intersection of law and politics. And that's called Court Accountability, CA, Court Accountability. And Alex Aronson of Court Accountability and some other amazing, amazing leaders there are going to be regularly appearing on Legal AF MTN. We're going to do a playlist with just Court Accountability. They're going to be on with me to do analysis on their own, on Unprecedented, that new show exclusively right here on Legal AF and in other places. Court Accountability. We are, because of our audience, attracting other pro-democracy, law, and politics type commentators. And you should all find out, hopefully, by subscribing for free here now. Help us get to 200,000 in less than a month. It's almost a record. So we can continue to bring you this content that I'm the executive producer of and that I'm curating right here at that same intersection. Find out what 40 million people a month already know. That Legal AF is the home of law and politics analysis and commentary like no other. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF right here, exclusively on Legal AF MTN for Midas Touch Network, this is Michael Popok, and I am reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.